Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
Now we have breaking news. Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal over a pursuit of a stolen vehicle suspect. And boy, this looks wild already, Des.
Oh, yeah, Pat and Juan, wow, this is really nuts. This suspect just ran through a couple of gates and then tried to back up and went backed up into the CHP car, so they are not going to be happy about this. Now, it all started with LA County Sheriff's deputies from the Compton area that followed the stolen vehicle up here. They went into surveillance mode pretty quickly, though, with their helicopter overhead. That's the one lending the spotlight. And then CHP decided that they would get involved, and they tried to light this car up. They got off of the freeway, went into a dead end, but that was not enough to stop this suspect. I'm sure we'll have that video to show you shortly, where it went through not one but two closed gates, and now we're on Olympic Boulevard in downtown Los Angeles. So unfortunately, here we are again in downtown. Definitely a bad spot. There you see LA County Sheriffs with their helicopter overhead. And so now CHP trying to get this one, and considering that this suspect just backed up into their car, I think they are probably going to stick with this one, Pat and Juan. Pretty crazy.
Indeed, Desmond. And here we have that shot you were talking about when the car made it into this cul-de-sac where it rammed a couple of gates, as you mentioned, and then made it into that cul-de-sac, and amazingly was able to get away, Pat.
Yeah, it looks like, that's for sure.
Look at that, another gate.
That's pretty, wow. Talk about doing some damage, and then backed up into the car,
That's right.
the police car. Well, that's already charges besides being stolen vehicle. Assault with a deadly weapon, possibly, Desmond, with that car backing up into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, they will not hesitate to slap that charge onto the suspect when this is over. They will call that assault with a deadly weapon on a peace officer anytime a suspect willingly backs their vehicle into them like that. I was already hearing them talking about that on the radio. Now, fortunately, all the CHP cruisers have those big push bars equipped in front because so many of their units need to push stalled vehicles off of the freeway. So they're kind of equipped for in case something like that happens. Not for that specifically, but in case someone backs into them. So shouldn't have really done too much damage. It was extremely low speed, but regardless, an extremely aggressive maneuvers. And we are listening to CHP say that it sounds like they may be authorized to do a pit maneuver if they are able to get into place for this one. So we'll see if they get that opportunity. We know that CHP very, very good at that when they get that opportunity. As we are now on 7th Street going over the LA River again.
Desmond, do we know how many people might be inside the car?
Have not heard how many people are inside the car at this point. You know what, for once we may actually have a vehicle that does not have that kind of pursuit style tint, the dark limousine tint at this point. So we'll see if we get an opportunity at some point to look through the windshield if that opportunity presents us, and maybe we can get a better idea and see if there are multiple people in this car.
No, it's interesting.
It looks like a silver Kia.
Oh, a silver Kia. Okay, I thought it was a darker colored car. Well, that's because it's well, it's dark outside right now. We can hardly tell. Now, are they back on a free? I can't really tell. Are they back on a freeway, or they're hovering? That's a side street. It looks like.
Yeah,
no, there they go. Okay.
Where are they, Des?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting on the freeway. I think we're getting onto the southbound 5 right here. Just been kind of hanging out around the East LA interchange here quite a bit. Since this came up to Compton, it went up the 710 and then the 5, and just kind of been dancing all around the 5, right around the East LA interchange. Kind of a weird area. You know, obviously where you have lots of freeways intersecting and all of the different streets. But now here we are back on the freeway, southbound 5. Here now as we are south of the East LA interchange. Speeds have not been particularly high. It almost got up to 80 miles an hour there briefly. But even when this was on surface streets, it wasn't particularly fast. But this is an awfully stubborn suspect, that's for sure.
Yeah, those speeds that make it certainly better for CHP to try to do a pit maneuver. That's for sure. And we've seen them at times. Desmond and Juan go over 30 miles per hour. They feel that they have the opportunity to do that, and it's safe to do.
That's right.
We have seen them do that. Do you suspect at this time, Des, with the stolen car pursuit, that could be something they're thinking about, or just maybe take their time with this one?
Yeah, well, definitely not now that we're on the freeway. But yeah, you're right. They could attempt it possibly up to 40 miles an hour. I think policy is 30. We have seen it a little bit faster. You know, if it's a really good situation, it seems that they're able to make that judgment call, but certainly not now that we're on the freeway. So we'll see how this one shakes out, where it leads us. But you know, quite a few times, if the suspect does get off the freeway and there's not a lot of traffic, they might just do it right there, right when they get to the bottom of that off ramp, see if they can spin them around. So that may be in the offing. Just have to see how this all goes.
Desmond, was this pursuit at all in tracking mode? I know this week we've been reporting about some agencies in the past backing off from pursuits just for the safety of the public and whatnot, or has it always been pretty much as we're seeing right now, officers in pursuit?
It was very briefly in pursuits with sheriff's deputies. They're the ones who started this. But they had their helicopter overhead before they initiated the pursuit. And so then when the suspect decided not to stop, may have just done something a little bit on the dangerous side besides not stopping. And then the watch commander said, we're canceling the pursuit. We're going to go into surveillance mode and see how this goes. And so a lot of times when that happens, then you may see them ask another agency, especially CHP, to get involved. It looks like this time CHP obliged to get involved. So you've got CHP on the ground, sheriffs in their helicopter overhead. Look like the suspect was a little bit confused there. It might almost kind of fishtailed there slightly. This is definitely not a sports car. This is not quite an economy car either. Maybe kind of medium, maybe in between economy and luxury here. But we are now back southbound on the 710. We've already been here once before. Now we're kind of trending back to where this began, towards the Compton area.
Okay, and that's almost as if, well, where do I go now? You know, it shows a bit of a pattern. And we've seen this happen, possibly make an exit and try to go somewhere where they could, you know, maybe foot bail or try to elude police. Never happens. Now that's pretty dangerous. That's getting slippery there, Desmond.
But yeah, a very common tactic by the suspects where they act like they're going to get off the freeway and then they just cut over at the last second. But you can see that did not fool the CHP officer who's in the lead of this pursuit, and certainly not with the spotlight overhead. Boy, I can imagine that the panic is really setting in, especially after backing into that CHP cruiser. I was really shocked. I really thought that this was going to end right as we were going to be coming live to air, as we were right there at that dead end with a couple of closed gates, and this suspect just plowed right through both of them. And you know, they were, you know, unfortunately those were both opened up back onto public streets. And so the pursuit continues. A stolen vehicle pursuit started out of Compton, now southbound on the 710 as we make our way through all those little cities south of downtown Los Angeles, Southgate, Bell Gardens, not too far away from Cudahy and Huntington Park as well.
Yeah, as he heads down towards Long Beach. Desmond, curious about those gates that we saw him ram through. Here we're showing that video once again. Was this an apartment complex that he broke himself into, or some sort of commercial area? What was this? Looks like a taxi yard, actually. Look at that.
Yeah, you know, definitely an industrial area. Most of the area along the Los Angeles River through downtown Los Angeles is, you know, warehouses, commercial areas, stuff like that. Some heavy industry as well. So it looked like that might have, you know, was a business that was probably closed for the night, or there was nobody out there to get in this maniac's way at the very least. So 75 miles, up to 80 now. Whoa, actually almost 90. So this is actually the fastest that we've seen now, this pursuit. So, you know, earlier I was saying that the speeds weren't too high, but now they are starting to pick up.
And I'm looking at the freeway. What does it look like above or ahead of this vehicle? Well, now I see some more traffic. It almost seemed like traffic had died down a little bit, but now we can see more as you pull out there, Desmond. So again, we were talking about those gates, so that's property damage on top of assault with a deadly weapon and backing into that police car there.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, we were just doing a story about this last night, Pat. I know Mike at the desk was talking how a lot of agencies are starting to rethink how they do pursuits, and we had, you know, an officer on who was saying, you know, stolen vehicle. Some people may be surprised to learn that that is apparently just a misdemeanor now in California. But now you're talking about a felony for sure, using your vehicle as a deadly weapon against a police officer. And then, you know, you have property damage. I'm not sure if that will be of the felony level or what, but definitely the charges racking up against this person. So, you know, what may have potentially been a shorter jail term for just pulling over and giving up the stolen vehicle, you know, they are definitely looking at something considerably more serious at this point.
And we also try to look at why would this person still be trying to get away from police. Well, you know, with a stolen vehicle and you back up into a police car, you have to know, well, okay, this is really going to make this a bit more dangerous for me, but they continue to drive as if they're going to get it. Oftentimes they do not. And again, you know, we've also talked about this, Desmond, with Mike Rogers in the last couple of days about them possibly backing off because they could have the vehicle license plate, and they believe that they're able to catch up with this person at another time. Makes it a little different with the stolen vehicle, and it just makes you wonder with this, the charges now against this guy with ramming that police car, that they would see this through to the end.
Most likely, yes. I would say that they are exponentially less likely to let this go if, you know, with this, certainly not willingly. Now, if it's, you know, a situation where they lose eyes on the subject, if they make their way into a parking garage or something like that, then that is probably the suspect's only chance at escaping this. But yeah, you know, and again, at the beginning of this pursuit, you know, sheriffs, they did go into tracking mode very, very quickly. It's something that we've been seeing a lot more commonly in recent years with most law enforcement agencies, not so much CHP, and it's not so much in Orange County either. They definitely seem to have a different rule book in Orange County than they do in Los Angeles County, but you have been seeing, you know, them backing off of the pursuits. But, you know, it's just kind of getting to the point now where if you have some of these criminals, and we've seen some things from pursuits in recent memory where you can tell these people seem to know what they're doing, or they've had experience getting away from the police before. And then you just wonder at what point where if they just know, well, if I just drive crazy, I can probably get away. If they start kind of internalizing that, and it makes it really tough for law enforcement. You know, we would talk about the balance between public safety, the risk and reward. That was, I know exactly what we were talking about on our story yesterday. And you know, when these suspects know something like that, it makes something like this a lot more difficult. And you tend to see some of these suspects really pushing it to see if they can get law enforcement to cancel these pursuits.
Okay, now they're on East Rosecrans now. CHP continue to follow this vehicle?
Yeah, they are. They are continuing. And Rosecrans is actually, I believe, the very first street where we were hearing this began. So we're very close to where this began. So is this a coincidence or not that we're coming kind of into the neighborhood where this suspect first got the authorities' attention as we come into not a narrow residential street, but definitely into a residential area here, Gibson and Arlington in the Compton area. Not too many people out, not a lot of traffic. We'll see if this is a good opportunity for CHP to potentially do a pit maneuver. Oh, wrong side of the street, though, here.
But you could tell the desperation. Did you see that move that they made earlier when they didn't quite know which way to go? So this is certainly not the right way to go here, going the wrong way. But I know that CHP is still right behind this vehicle. Oh, there we go. Is he going to make that left turn? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yep. Yeah, big left right through a solid red there, too. A huge intersection making that. But, you know, I think everyone heard CHP. They've definitely got their lights and sirens on. You saw how a lot of those vehicles stopped preemptively. So, you know, they heard the sirens. And so even though it ended up, you know, kind of working for the suspect as well, all the traffic stopping for him, it was the safest thing for them all to stop, you know, hearing the sirens. So, you know, in that sense, the sirens were able to kind of give them a little bit heads up about potential danger coming towards them.
Yeah, and he's going fast enough.
He is going fast enough. Look at that. What happens here is going to be making a right there off Atlantic Avenue onto Rosecrans, right? Almost back to where he was earlier, right, Pat?
Yeah, did he make a full circle there, Desmond?
Well, yeah, right back onto Rosecrans. You're right. So basically, we just kind of came full circle, and now we are headed back westbound on Rosecrans, still in Compton, but not for too much longer. We'll be making our way into the South LA area here shortly.
You know, does that give them the possibility, with him being in the same area, so to speak, of like getting ahead of this vehicle, possibly setting up for a spike strip, or just the anticipation?
Right.
That's just opinion, Des. Just ask the question.
No, yeah, spike strips definitely, you know, a very, very good idea. But so far, right through another red light there with a lot of different vehicles, and here you see, you know, CHP kind of backing off that one a little bit as well. So spike strips definitely in the offering, and we'll just have to see which units have spike strips and if they're able to coordinate all that. I haven't seen, I mean, too many law enforcement units up ahead. Sometimes we'll see, you know, some of the units coming the opposite direction right through another solid red light. So, boy, we've seen a lot of risk taking here in this one for sure. A couple of sparks coming. Oh, look at this coming as well. I just saw a couple of sparks beginning to flicker there, so I'm wondering if they're having some trouble. We'll see if we're able to get to the other side at some point. Now I'm wondering if they're having issues with one of the tires, or it might even just, you see actually the damage to the front of the car, to the bumper, from slamming through those gates earlier as well. So there's definitely something going on with this car. I haven't heard anything about spike strips or anything like that, but this vehicle may be getting a little bit tired of running from the police.
Impaired.
Yeah.
The vehicle is impaired. All right, and it's still going westbound on Rosecrans now. That's interesting. I'm close enough, too, to see if I see a spark, as you had mentioned, Desmond. That certainly brings a whole different scenario here, and certainly does give officers enough time, don't you think, to get ahead of this? You know, we've seen so many times where they just rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
Okay, did a little U-turn there.
We're getting a pretty good view of that damage now as well. The bumper is really busted up. It may just be something dragging underneath. I didn't get a great look at the tires, but I think it might be having some trouble with speeds like this if their tires were deflating or something like that. So now back east on Rosecrans, back towards the 710 freeway. Always wonder why they pulled a U-turn there or what, but there's more law enforcement. They may have actually had a spike strip right there. They passed by us so quickly, but you saw how they were parked there right off the street with their trunk open. So, you know, you said spike strips, Pat, and it's certainly looking like that's what they might be thinking about.
Well, good. Now look at the down to the mileage. Certainly is much lower now.
Yeah,
well, it's picking back up a little bit, but it really did, right? It was down there in the 20s. And now on North Willowbrook Avenue. So no attempts so far to try to get back on the freeway. And if that vehicle is damaged, as Desmond mentioned, may not be able to do that anyway.
And going round and round, it seems, Pat, he just made a bunch of right-hand turns here. And if the car is somewhat damaged, if that front bumper is dragging underneath those front tires, we could, let's see what's going to happen here. Another U-turn or another turn?
But, oh, there, look at this.
Here it comes. Oh.
Okay, thought they were going to try a pit.
Oh, there was that cement wall there.
They may still attempt.
Yeah, they might be here. Just listening to him talk. You see kind of when you see the CHP officer swerve his bumper a little bit, it looks like they might be trying to set up for one. So let's see. Now we're getting down onto Alameda, and this might be a pretty good opportunity you can see, you know, wider streets right here. And traffic's pretty light now at this point. There's another officer that was stationed right there. I think there was a spike strip right there. I'm pretty sure there was. So they are definitely getting more aggressive with bringing this one to an end. And spike strips, you know, can be definitely preferable because there's less factors in the sense that you don't have to worry about necessarily how the vehicle is going to behave when it spins around or potentially spinning around,
oh,
you know,
look
to the
what
opposite
is he
side of the
doing?
roadway and colliding with an innocent car. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then a wide turn right here. So
that front bumper,
I think
right?
they saw that spike strip. Yeah, and I think that the adrenaline is really starting to kick into this panic driver. You know, first after smashing through the gates, hitting the CHP officer, backing into them. Now they see the spike strips around them, and they have to know that the authorities are getting a lot more serious with wanting to bring this one to an end. I just saw that the flashing lights there. Wow, it looks okay. I think the gates just came up there. This suspect unfortunately very lucky. If they would have been there about a minute earlier, it looked like they might have had to wait for some train tracks for the guardrail there, but it was just coming up as they were going over the train tracks there.
Is it just me, or when you talked about that damage, it looks even more. All right, maybe I was going to say it looks more visible now, but I think that's just because we've been able to see it at a better angle. Certainly going down a narrow street now in a residential neighborhood, Desmond. Are they looking for?
Yeah, wow, and the speed's picking up too. She's up to 60 there briefly. Like going over those dips right there and slamming down this vehicle that's already damaged. So, and we're on some pretty dark streets as well. It's only with that spotlight overhead that anyone is able to know that anything like this is coming at them. Well, okay, going into an alley now, it looks like, and let's see where this is going to take us. Sometimes when they go into these alleys is where they like to get out of the vehicle and run. Lots of different points where they can jump over a fence and try to evade the spotlight. That's the thing that they're really looking to get off of them right now. But CHP
right behind
hot
them
on their tail, and let's see here. It's kind of looked like they've been setting up for that pit maneuver, but we haven't seen a real serious execution at this point.
But did you see them in an intersection?
Yeah, and then right as he was maybe kind of setting up again, then hit that red light, and he needed to slow down and make sure that there weren't any innocent people getting into this intersection. Yeah.
Well, we could tell our viewers certainly that this vehicle has been committed to surface streets for the last, at least 15 minutes. This is a pursuit, as Desmond mentioned, that started in Compton on the 710, that went on the 5 freeway back to the 710, and then exited at Rosecrans, and has basically stayed in the same area, or a very familiar area, in the Compton area, but going through a lot of side streets, an alleyway, as we saw. This vehicle is certainly damaged after going through, was it 2 gates?
2 gates.
Two gates, and then backing up into a police cruiser, which was certainly not the smart thing to do.
And making a lot of right-hand turns, so he's kind of staying in that same area as Desmond was mentioning, and we've been talking about in the Compton area, where this all first started when sheriffs picked up on this stolen car report of this Kia. And again, there's some front damage to the car. There's some back bumper damage as well. And the officer's still in pursuit right now. There's a chance we may have seen some spike strips being deployed. But again, just look how dark the streets are down there. And speeds have pretty much varied, anywhere from the low 20s up into the 60s and above, right?
Yes, but okay, now look how low the speed is now.
Yeah.
And this person has been, he has slowed down. I say he. We assume that it's a he. Don't know that for sure.
Yep.
But they've slowed down quite a bit. Now I see they're going back up to the 50s. But again, we're guessing that this could be part of this vehicle being somewhat impaired, maybe by backing up to that cruiser. And Desmond, you had mentioned that you believe some spike strips were thrown down. Well, there he is going. That's the from video earlier of him going through 1 gate there.
And it looks like it's a taxi yard of some sort, and then he hits that 2nd gate.
Another gate, and then he's going to back up to the police.
Boom.
There you go there. Guys, I always feel bad, really, because this is a stolen car. So, even if you're here, if you're watching this, you got to feel, boy, you know what I mean?
For the owner of that car.
Certainly.
The property that was damaged.
All of
those
that.
2 gates that need to be repaired. I mean, who's going to pay for that? And who knows what else is going to happen here?
Yeah, Pat and Juan, I got to tell you, it's because of living in Los Angeles that I have zero deductible comprehensive shout out here to your insurance companies. It's, at least for me, it was only a couple of extra dollars, because there's nothing worse than being a victim of a situation and then having to pay anything out of your own pocket for that.
Right.
So regardless of who your insurance company is, you may want to check with your agent and see. It may just be a little bit more money, save you at least a little bit of heartache. But you're right, I mean, this could be someone's livelihood. I mean, we live in, a car-obsessed city like Los Angeles, where you practically have to have a car to get anywhere. And, you wonder, how long has this person's car been stolen? How long have they been without it? Have they been able to get to work? And now they might be, watching the driver, their vehicle here involved in a pursuit, smashing through gates, backing up into a CHP cruiser here as we are now getting up to Figueroa Street. So,
in Harbor Gateway area.
Is this? And wondering, how you can see the sparks now, more flickering of the sparks, and I think it might have been the passenger side front tire that was having, actually maybe both of the front tires here.
See, Pat, right there?
I can't quite tell if the sparks are coming from the wheel well or if it's from the bumper, if there's something, maybe
we can see that flickering,
like
Desmond.
That, yeah, and it's coming from both sides. I know that it was on the, oh, you know what, actually my pilot Dylan making a good point. He might actually even be dragging a spike strip because we saw that they went around at least one spike strip. Although, you know what, I'm looking at that, I don't know, just the way that tire is looking.
It looks weird. It almost looks like
it's kind of hard to tell when we're.
Like it's ready to come off.
Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was saying, Desmond, it almost looks like it's ready to come off. The driver, on the driver's
quite
side.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, and we're going to get a good look at this tire as well. Yeah, I saw it too. The way that rim was moving was kind of weird. And yeah, look, you can see. Okay, so they definitely did hit a spike strip at some point. It looks like this tire is having some issues as well.
Oh yeah, look at it
might
vibrating.
Even be the spike strip that is kind of hanging on there right underneath the bumper. So yeah, the writing is on the wall for this suspect. I have to imagine they're I don't know, maybe just trying to think about where they think they can ditch this poor vehicle and get out, and if they think that they can evade authorities. But so often, they think they're clever. They're going to go somewhere. They get out and they start sprinting, and then they've only got about 30 or 40 seconds worth of energy before they're winded, and they collapse and they end up in handcuffs either way. So it's we'll see how tenacious this suspect continues to be, but incredibly stubborn.
No question about that. And it has to know, in terms of giving yourself up, you've got to be very careful here because you've already, with backing up into that cruiser, that just makes it even more heightened, as we know, which is obviously how this driver is acting too. Didn't quite know what to do at this point, right? Just try to get away until they can't anymore, or they run out of gas, or again, with that car being impaired as it is, then it, hopefully it's just a matter of time.
Yep. And my guess is this car becomes part of an investigation. So if you are the owner, it's going to be a while before you get it back and decide whether or not it's worth repairing or what the insurance company is going to do and who's going to pay for the damage. Because I'm guessing the pursuit suspects are not going to be on the hook for the damage.
Desmond, you want to weigh in there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm sorry, I was just coordinating a little bit with my pilot, but no, I mean, yeah, I could tell you that the victim of this, their insurance company is not going to be very happy when they get the bill for that. And, I'm honestly not sure what the procedure is. I wonder if the insurance company would sue the suspect on this one, or how this is all going to work. But yeah, we're not just talking about simple property damage now at this point. You're talking about damage to some government property, law enforcement property, and then those gates, definitely not cheap. I'm sure that probably sounded some kind of security alarm, and someone responded and go, what the heck happened here? So that's going to be another wrinkle to all of this. But you just have to wonder how much longer this vehicle is going to keep going with what we think may be a spike strip that's dragging underneath this vehicle, causing these sparks, and if those tires are deflating and how quickly they're deflating.
And guys, let's just face it. I mean, if you've ever had to take your car, if you've been in an accident or what have you, even if it's paid for, it still is a big inconvenience because you have to, if you get a rental car or whatever, it doesn't happen right away.
Right.
Certainly not as quick as it used to.
And money always comes out of your pocket no matter what.
For sure, no matter what. With this car being the way it is, Desmond, do you think they're just going to ride this out, or would they even attempt to throw another spike strip down there?
They might attempt another spike strip. It certainly looks like they've backed off the pit maneuver thing now with the damage to this vehicle, and we believe the damage to the tires as well. They may just be content to see what happens with the tire, or throw out another spike strip, or maybe this person's low on gas, or or something like that. And again, it definitely feels. I mean, we've already seen a big evolution in the way that so many law enforcement agencies are handling these pursuits, even with the more aggressive agencies like CHP. So they may just at this point, wait until a really good opportunity. They're really just hoping that the suspect is going to stop the vehicle, obviously, and next after that, if they're going to stop the vehicle and not surrender, then hopefully just get out and run, get tired after 30 seconds. They can get out there, with the can-be and subdue the suspect. Those are the two scenarios that they're obviously hoping for. Kind of a platitude, I know, but they're going to do whatever they think is necessary to avoid any innocent people getting T-boned or anything like that through an intersection. And we are definitely noticing the speeds kind of slowing down here, and it definitely seems like this car is starting to have some trouble.
And you know what? And why waste the equipment, too? If you don't have to, especially if we believe that there's a spike strip underneath that car.
Oh, boy.
What's he
Okay, now
doing
he's on the wrong side.
It's that same spot
on
where
the wrong side
he was
here.
earlier.
Possibly, yeah. Mulberry and Rosecrans, that does sound familiar. Was briefly on, went down that little alleyway kind of the wrong way, but there is a unit a little ways down there. And, hanging out around this area. Are they going to be blocked in here? They did. So you see here, people might be wondering, why did they get out of the way? Why did they get out? Well, that's an LA County Sheriff's deputy there. They're never going to completely block in an intersection so that the suspect cannot get out. Obviously, they don't want to get T-boned, and it just could make for a much more volatile situation. So as obvious as it may be to folks, waiting on TV, you saw that sheriff get out of the way there, and that's pretty basic protocol there. Okay, we're right by the blue line tracks, and there we go. Got the vehicle back.
Yeah, and he's still, the rate of speed is much lower now. And again, going on a pretty, a residential area, just driving around, and you have to think that they probably can't go any faster at this point.
Yeah.
Let's hope, right?
Yeah, we've seen that before. I'm not going to say that's the first time we've seen them slow down and then pick up speed, thinking that the car is that impaired, but one never knows. But this vehicle here has been traveling at much lower speeds for the last, 5-10 minutes here.
Yeah, I mean, and it might just take one really large pothole or something like that to rip this tire off at this point with the way that we've seen the tires deflate. But this is exactly what the authorities want, slowing down the vehicle. This is a big advantage of the spike strips, is that eventually it will really slow down the suspect here. Just the vehicle will start to give up because it doesn't have a lot of rubber to travel on, and then they're definitely not hoping to see a dangerous maneuver like that. But it's overall it could take a lot longer for a situation to diffuse, but a lot less variables than a pit maneuver. But look at this, and now getting this car back up to 60 miles an hour. So still continuing to push this vehicle, just as we thought that maybe it was starting to give up a little bit here. Now we're starting to see the speeds climb back up. But then, you wonder if this person has very good control over this vehicle. Just all kinds of weird U-turns. What is the end game here? There's so many units that are involved in this. There's almost no hope of this person getting away.
Yeah.
We said at the same time.
If it's not within the first, if it's not within the first 5 minutes, or before sheriff's deputies get overhead, or before Sky Cal gets overhead, and, as each of those things fall into place, the odds of the suspect getting away drop dramatically. Just having more eyes on the ground and from the air on this one, with the spotlight overhead, with the infrared systems that the authorities have on their law enforcement helicopters as well. So I would have to think that we're going to see them get out and run here at some point, unless he's just kind of trying to do one last little hurrah through his neighborhood. Maybe this is their neighborhood, and I don't know, just trying to, we know how these suspects go. They love to drag this out as long as is physically possible. Enjoy those last few ounces of freedom before they go away for the night and almost certainly longer.
You can imagine, too, just how many vehicles, when this does come to an end, are going to be surrounding this car or in the back of this vehicle. He's picking up speed again there.
And look at the sparks and look at that front bumper.
Yeah, we still, more sparks seem to be coming from this. Wow, now they're picking up, getting up to the 60s. I haven't seen that in a while.
Boy, it's just yeah, and you know, if one of these tires gives out and that freaks out this suspect and they lose control, then this could go south. There was another spike strip attempt right there. Not sure if they went over it or not. That was pretty close.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you see the maneuver? Like he was trying to get out of the way, I guess.
Yeah, but that answers your question there, Pat. They are still determined to stop this one with spike strips, and you know, as the vehicle goes slower and hangs around this area, you see the the amazing coordination with law enforcement. They're all driving around here, kind of almost like a chessboard behind the scenes on different streets. The helicopter overhead communicating with all of the different units. They communicate very well, and they want to get these officers in place in multiple places where they can safely get out, have a little bit of time to unfurl that spike strip, make sure that they're safe, and be there to throw it out. But it's a bang thing. It happens very quickly, and timing is obviously just like a pit maneuver in the sense that timing is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Trying to unfurl it with enough time, but not so much that the suspect can see it coming. It's kind of a 50-50 thing, I would say. And that time, it looked to me like the suspect may have evaded that last spike strip that they tried.
Well, the good news is that we're taking a look here, Pat. You don't see a lot of people on the sidewalk or the street. I'm guessing those cold temps are keeping people indoors, which is a good thing for public safety.
Correct.
Yeah, I kept looking for people maybe coming out. They know the pursuit's coming. They want to take pictures with their cell phone. I kept looking into people's yards here as the pursuit goes by, and you really don't see anybody on foot.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That makes it safer. Okay, there again, another not sure what he's going to do. The suspect.
And back on Rosecrans, this suspect has really liked Rosecrans Avenue. But you're right, Juan. Actually, it's pretty surprising because this has been going on for a while and in the same area, and it is all too common here to see folks come out and want to get their social media feed stuff with pursuit video, and we really have not been seeing it. And boy, it is an awfully chilly night in Southern California. Look at all the other units here. So there's sheriff's deputies as well. Even though they're letting CHP take the lead on this, they are very much involved with this. And if this began with them, so they will probably be the ones who will take custody of the suspect if and when this comes to an end and they're able to apprehend this person. We've been trying to look inside in the passenger side, and I don't think I've seen anyone in the passenger seat there. I'm pretty sure I just saw the cloth seat. So unless there's anyone hiding in the back seats, I believe it is just the driver of this stolen vehicle in the car.
No, spike strip? Okay, this is where the spike strip was laid down.
You're
going to see that little maneuver there where he tried to go around it. And Desmond, it's your summation that they possibly avoided that spike strip there.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly, but it looked to me like they might have been able to swerve out of the way of that one. But down into residential streets now. Really just
never seen
every time it kind of slows down, kind of speeds back up again. But how much more pain can these tires endure? It's kind of surprising. Sometimes it can take a really long time for these tires to deflate off of a successful spike strip. And even once they do, even once the rubber separates, it's just shocking how far these vehicles can go, just on their metal rims. Yeah. So, we'd like to think that we may be coming, might be the beginning of this pursuit, but, let's see. Now up to 60 miles an hour again. And with the vehicle in this kind of shape, it's just so dangerous. Starting to see a little bit of, look at that. We saw there's a bunch of chunks of rubber.
Smoke.
Definitely losing a tire there.
Yep.
And right on cue, just as I was talking about that. Now we've got a lot of sparks, part of the bumper separating as well. Just all kinds of chunks falling off of this vehicle right now. Definitely lost one tire. More and more stuff coming off of this. I think, boy, that was pretty crazy. All the different things. So now this suspect is really going to find it difficult to control this vehicle as they are just almost kind of careening here, 45, 50 miles an hour on Santa Fe Avenue.
Okay, and then this certainly is down to the wire where they're just driving to drive, as you said, Desmond, to get that last little bit of freedom here before, you know, being taken into custody. Certainly, to be still driving a car with as the tire gone. I mean, you know, was that on the driver's side? We talked about that earlier, Desmond, that it looked weird about 10, 15 minutes ago. Remember we pointed out that it almost looked like it was about to come off then.
Dangling, right?
Yeah, so this is just desperation.
Did he lose the front bumper at this point, Desmond? Because
I think so. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure almost all, if not all, of the bumper is off of the vehicle now at this point. But you can definitely see this vehicle struggling, yeah, especially to make turns. That's when it really gets dangerous for this person on these bad tires trying to make these wide turns. You know, in a definitely not a compact vehicle, kind of a mid-sized sedan, I would call. But yeah, look at all the smoke, more stuff continuing to come off, more big chunks of tire, it looks like, off of the passenger side on this one. The writing really on the wall now for this suspect as we are on Long Beach Boulevard. But the tenacity continues, just refusing to yield after all of this. Just such a frustrating thing to see. You know, so many law enforcement resources being tied up for this person, just refusing. And but
you know,
they,
you're so right
they need
about
some time
that.
to process all the
But you know what? But Desmond,
all the
as
charges that are running up right now.
as you gave a shout out to the coordinated efforts of the different law enforcement agencies here in this one, we got a lot involved with this. But at the same time, we've seen just how much they have strategically, you know, laid those spike strips down, showed up at the intersections, and it's sort of like telling this guy, we're all around. You know, not just the sheriff's chopper in the air, but they've certainly been almost on almost every corner.
Everybody working
and
together,
anticipated,
right?
yeah, where he's going to go, where he's going to make turns and end up, which is good. That gives them a possibility of, okay, if we can, we'll show up and throw that spike strip, because that's all he's been doing, is really staying in the same area.
It keeps making those same turns. Desmond's still in Compton.
Still in Compton. We've been hanging out in this area for quite some time after coming up to the East LA area, then, you know, doubled back down into this area, back up into the Boyle Heights areas where we really saw the craziness of this one, just as we were coming to air with the slamming through the gates and the backing up into the CHP cruiser. My pilot Dylan actually wondering, it's a good point, maybe this suspect may have run flats equipped on this tire, on this vehicle. I'm not sure that they come on Kias, whatever model this is. That's usually more of a European luxury car feature, but very possible. I mean, you do still see these tires going on the driver's side, but we're continuing to see more and more stuff come off. So we'll try to get a look at the passenger side when the opportunity presents itself. That's where we've been seeing lots of little chunk. It seems like almost every couple of seconds now we're seeing little bits of black debris being left in the roadway. So just wondering when we're going to see more of the tires completely separate at this point.
And a complete shutdown of this vehicle. We've been talking about this, what, guys, for at least 45 minutes, would you say? All right, again, starting on the 710, Compton, going through the 5, and then back on the 710, and it's been in the area of Compton, but on surface streets for the last 20 minutes or so. And as we had been talking about earlier, Rosecrans was certainly a popular venue, but now he's been on Long Beach Boulevard for quite some time now, and we suspect with the number of spike strips, certainly more than one. Would you say, Desmond? More than one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've hit. I think they've probably hit 2, and there's been at least 4 attempts that I've seen. And you know, with these, now we're back onto Long Beach Boulevard here on a major street. We'll see if there's another spike strip up ahead. Seems like it might be a good opportunity if they did want to throw another one out of there, but we have seen the suspect unfortunately be a little bit too privy to those coming and been able to get out of the way of them. But it just keeps on trucking. This Kia sedan, as damaged as it is somehow still managing to continue to to keep up with this one.
Yeah, and he's slowed down quite a bit too. Look, this time not running a red light, but going with the green, but 24 miles an hour. Not too fast.
And Desmond, we still have sheriff's deputies assisting CHP on the ground. Is that correct? We know they joined
yeah,
earlier.
They've been posted. Yeah, definitely. They've really been keeping a lot of eyes on this. I think they're going to be ready for when, for any potential foot pursuit that might break out if the suspect decides to get out and run. And just the way they've been behaving, it's hard to imagine that, they're just going to pull over and give up. But, you never know. Sometimes some of the craziest pursuits come to some of the most abrupt and peaceful endings. It's just never really know how these are going to go. But it looks like they've been, it's been CHP that has been really the lead agency in this one since sheriff's deputies allowed them to pick it up, or I should say as CHP, acquiesced to picking it up. They've been the ones who've been out there with the spike strips as well. But the deputies have had their helicopter overhead on this one. So it's definitely been a joint effort, I would say. And, how much longer does the suspect want to drag this out?
Well, we will see. We're certainly approaching the 10 o'clock hour. So, this person, this driver, and we still are assuming that there is one person in the vehicle being the driver. We haven't seen or heard about a passenger. But at this point, it's just been a bit of desperation and probably knowing, well, I'm not going to get away from law enforcement, so I'm just going to ride this out. Des, we're getting another close-up look at the driver's side of this vehicle.
Yeah, this is the best look we've had of the suspect right now, and it's interesting. I mean, he just looks so casual. I think he's on his phone right now. If he's smart, he's texting his lawyer right now, or a bail bonds person. But it's so crazy. Sometimes we see kind of the panic behavior inside. This guy just kind of looks like he's cruising around like this is no big deal at all. Very
Does he have his hazards
strange.
on?
And then you see it. They do have their hazards on as well. Very, very peculiar. But I hate to see the suspect texting like that while they're driving with a vehicle that doesn't have rubber. Yeah, but here you can see a really good look now at it might be both of the tires here on the passenger side that are busted. Yeah, it looks like if there is no rubber on either of those tires, or very, very little at this point. I'm surprised we're not seeing a lot of sparks flying at this point. But more and more rubber continuing to come off. So we know for sure there's a really, really good look at those two tires right there as I double in. So it's very, very difficult to control the vehicle when it's like this. And so really alarming when we see them able to still, get the vehicle up to 40, 50 miles an hour at some point. But boy, it's the suspect already so lucky this hasn't ended in a crash. And, frankly, the public is as well.
Well, Des,
we are going
to close out the 9 o'clock hour for Juan Fernandez and myself. We're going to be joined now by Jeff Vaughn and Leslie Martin for KCAL News at 10.
Good. Continue with this breaking news. That police pursuit of a stolen vehicle, damage to the vehicle, we're told after he backed into a CHP cruiser. This has pretty much been happening in Compton. There's an opportunity here for this driver to pull over many times as a number of spike strips have been deployed at least 4 times. 2 appear to be good and got those tires flat to the point where you see this happening right now. Breaking news on KCAL News at 10 o'clock. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jeff Vaughn. Leslie Marin is also with me as well. We're going to show you some other video there on the right-hand part of your screen of him going through at least a couple of gates in desperation to get away from CHP. Again, this is a stolen vehicle. This is in some sort of lot, but on the right-hand part of your screen, that's the second gate. That's going to be from what occurred earlier tonight. This has been going on. There he backs into that CHP cruiser. I think that might be assault on a police officer at that point in time. Then you see here hitting the highway. Also, a good portion of this pursuit was on side streets and surface streets. And on the left-hand part of your screen is going to be the live portion of this pursuit. And that continues to go at slow speeds after it appears that the driver went over a set of spike strips. And Leslie, you saw this going as well through most of the 9 o'clock hour. The driver certainly has slowed down a bit. I believe it's probably because his car is pretty beat up. The front bumper is gone. The rear bumper is gone. There's a lot of damage, and it appears he's got some flat tires.
Yeah, and at this point, you can see he is, I should say this person, we're not sure who this person is inside that vehicle, is going through some residential streets. They've been keeping themselves in this Compton area. It seems like they know possibly the area that they're going, but at some points, as you said, Jeff, the driver did get on the 710, made their way back to the Compton area. We know CHP is following behind them, as well as sheriffs who first initiated a stop for what they believed was a stolen vehicle. Now, at some points, I know, Des, you got really close into zooming into that driver here, and it looked like that driver was possibly on their cell phone.
Yes, that's right. And on their cell phone and very casually, just kind of driving with one hand, on the wheel there and their phone in the other hand, and, driving a nearly disabled vehicle that way. Really, definitely nerve-wracking to watch as they're not only fleeing the police, but not even paying attention to where they're going necessarily. But fortunately, LA traffic has died down for the night. And even though we've been on some large surface streets, there hasn't been too much congestion, but there has been some successful spike strips as well, as Jeff was just talking about. Once we get to the passenger side, if that angle allows for us, we'll show you again the metal on asphalt that we're looking at now with this suspect, what they're dealing with, making it very difficult to control this vehicle. We do just believe it is this one person in the car, but stolen vehicle. We had ran a segment on this yesterday and about pursuit protocol and how that is apparently just a misdemeanor now in California. Well, it's a lot more than that now after backing up into the CHP patrol unit there. That is automatic assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, the property damage there as well to the gates that got knocked down, and all of the vehicle damage as well. So, a lot of charges definitely racking up for this suspect. They just had their hand out the window kind of motioning something, not sure what that was, but now we're getting a really good look here at the passenger side damage. Well, as I say that, it kind of swerves the other direction, but yeah, here we'll double in here really quickly, see if we can, now then they make that turn. So, but yeah, missing completely, the rubber's completely gone on both the passenger side tires.
So Des, we have a description on this vehicle. Is it a Kia sedan, a smaller sedan?
Yeah, it looks like a mid-size sedan. I'm not very familiar with the Kia line, but definitely a mid-size.
It's really interesting that it is a Kia. We did a story just earlier today about how these are some of the most stolen vehicles because it's really easy to break in with the ignition. Lots of smoke coming out from, and sparks is probably getting down to the rim. These cars are very easy to be stolen. In fact, a number of insurance agencies were reluctant to insure these cars because if they had that ignition that required a key, they were very easy to steal. And that's just one of the things that I happened to kind of maybe put two and two together. This is a Kia sedan, Leslie. It is stolen, and we did that story earlier today about how those cars are pretty popular. And as we get a closer look here, I think we're down to just the passenger side front is going to be down to the rims, going to start losing control of the vehicle, will not be able to make many maneuvers, certainly at a high speed, but he's going to crawl along until who knows what is going to force this driver to pull over.
Yeah, and Jeff, we do know that we believe that the suspect may have ran over at least one, if not two, spike strips, although officials there on the ground, officers did attempt at least 4 spike strips. But as you just saw it moments ago as they were driving, you could see the sparks coming, the smoke coming, and as Des zoomed in on that front passenger tire there, that wheel there, it was pretty much just down to the metal. The car only going about 30 miles per hour right now as it heads down Long Beach Boulevard through Compton. This driver has been stuck to Long Beach Boulevard for some time, aside from going on the 710 for a while. But you can see the driver there. We do know at one point when we zoomed really close, it looks like he's waving his hand outside of the window there. At one point, it looked like he was on the phone. Many times, authorities, law enforcement, even family have a way to contact this driver, try to get them to pull over. Many times they go through their family members and tell them, hey,
we've seen that before.
Yeah, if they know who they are, asked them to pull over because this is a very dangerous situation. Now going 50 miles per hour, which is really fast when you think about just how
Exactly.
damaged this vehicle is.
And no tires and hardly any control of this vehicle. As you can see him kind of weaving around, barely keeping it under control, as he had only one hand on the wheel at that one point in time, Leslie. When he threw his arm out, you could see it was a long sleeve shirt, blue long sleeve shirt. There's his arm comes out again. You wonder if he's trying to motion to police or to somebody else. He's been in this location in Compton going up and down Rosecrans and Long Beach Boulevard for basically the duration of this pursuit. So you got to think that this is basically an area that he knows as he goes into the turning lane, but probably goes right through the intersection. That's basically what he's been doing. CHP in pursuit, as they have been from the almost very beginning here. That was one of the pursuit vehicles that was run into by this suspect at one point in time. And you see the side mirror, Leslie, on the side of this stolen vehicle is also damaged and off. And you just wonder how many, here's on the right-hand part of your screen, it could have been damaged when he went through those two gates to get away from police. This is from earlier. But let's go back up to SkyCal. Des, this is always interesting to see somebody with a disabled vehicle. Can't really go anywhere. You're not going to be able to outmaneuver police at this point in time. But they always seem to continue to just crawl along without any sort of shame or want to pull over, which is what we'd love to see them do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, it just seems like they're just going to drag this out to the last possible moment and try to be as aggravating to law enforcement as possible. It seems, and they've already been awfully aggravating. I mean, that's starting or one of the very first things we saw when we got on when they backed into the CHP Cruiser. And if there was any thought that the authorities were going to let this one go, up until that point, maybe, but not once they went through that gate and then backed up into CHP. That pretty much sealed the deal for this suspect, that they were going to get pretty aggressive with this one. And they had been authorized for a pit maneuver. I had heard them saying earlier I heard the dispatch say, it sounded like that you were clear for a pit maneuver, but then they decided, well, maybe there wasn't such a great chance to do that. They decided to go with the spike strips. The spike strips are working. It takes longer. They've already lost 2 tires. Obviously, there's a risk that if the suspect continues to be tenacious like this, that they continue and, they could still lose control and possibly crash into someone, but that hopefully it would not be at a very high speed. But with all of this, all this going on, they obviously someone now at this point that they really want to get off the road, as even though we are starting to see law enforcement begin to back off some of these stolen vehicle pursuits. This is definitely not one of them. As we come now to the passenger side, we can show you again as they are on the rims, and it's just shocking how far some of these cars can go when there's no rubber left. We're all told, like, do not drive on a flat tire. If you have a nail, don't do that. Don't want to damage the tire more. Don't damage a rim. Well, these suspects, they don't care. They're just driving on straight metal. I mean, we could even see, even if a rim falls off, could be driving practically on the brake caliper. We've seen suspects even go a couple of miles on that. So we might really see just how stubborn this suspect is and how long they want to drag this out before the vehicle just completely says, I've got nothing left, I'm done.
Yeah, and that could be for some time. We've seen it time and time again, Des. I know you've covered them, where vehicles, despite being so damaged and down to the rim, they just go and go and go. And it is pretty incredible because most people, you get a flat tire, you feel like your car can't move at all. And then we watch these drivers just continue to evade law enforcement. Des, do we know the exact count of how many spike strips this driver did run through?
I'm pretty sure there were 2, and then I think there were 2 others that were dodged. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. It happened pretty quickly, but and at one point we saw, I believe, one of the spike strips actually hanging underneath the bottom of the car. That's what was causing some of those initial sparks, and that's how we knew, that a spike strip was used there in the first place. But here we are back out onto Long Beach Boulevard again, just kind of hanging out around a lot of the same streets. Rosecrans and Long Beach Boulevard have been the streets that this suspect has been really partial to, and then going on, into some little residential areas. But notice, not getting stuck in any cul-de-sacs or anything like that. So it does seem like this suspect is very familiar with this area. Now going through Imperial Highway, really busy intersection right here, a huge intersection. But fortunately, no innocent people getting in the intersection there. They got the lights and sirens. I think the light had just turned green on this one. Earlier in the pursuit, this suspect got really, really lucky because they had come to the train tracks on Alameda, and the crossing guards had just come up. If the suspect would have even been there 30 seconds earlier, they would have been stopped at a railroad crossing. So, you know, a lot of things seem to be unfortunately cooperating very well for the suspect to continue this pursuit so far tonight.
Yeah, and that would also be the traffic, which is surprising. It is Valentine's Day. A lot of people out and about for dinner and whatnot. I did see a lot of traffic on the other side of Long Beach Boulevard in the opposite lanes, but no traffic to speak of that we see in the direction of this pursuit driver. This is somebody wanted for a stolen vehicle. This is an older model Kia sedan, a smaller sedan. This is a stolen vehicle, and CHP is behind this driver. To give you just kind of the hits, runs, and errors of this pursuit that's been going on for more than an hour here on KCAL News. This driver went through a couple of gates in Compton, decided to back here. You see it on the right-hand part of your screen. He decides at one point in time to back into a CHP cruiser. And as Des was mentioning, that probably would mean that they would not stop this pursuit. They would continue with it until the very end, and that's what we're seeing. There is the impact with the CHP cruiser, which I would assume would be charged of assault with a police officer. Back to the live part. Let's take that, if we can, enlarge that, because we're starting to see some damage to the vehicle. We're starting to see a little bit of the spikes coming out, some of the sparks as well. Let's go back up to SkyCal and Des. Des, I heard you talking there. It's starting to spike up a little bit, but it doesn't appear to be slowing.
No, I mean, gosh, he got up to 70 miles an hour there briefly, you know, on Long Beach Boulevard. And again, with only 2 good tires, and you could see it was getting really difficult for this suspect to maintain control on this one. It might have even hit the brakes, and you saw a lot of sparks flying there. That metal as that metal slams against the asphalt. But CHP not deterred by any of this. They are waiting for this one. They're waiting for them to get out of the vehicle and chase him down and slap handcuffs on him if need be, if they're not going to give this one, you know, up willingly once they stop. So still just around a lot of the same areas. This is where it all began in Compton with LA County Sheriff's deputies when they must have run the license plate of this vehicle and saw that it was returned stolen. They got all of their ducks in a row to start to try to pull the vehicle over. They had the airship overhead before they even attempted to light the vehicle up. And then, of course, the pursuit was on. They went into tracking mode, though, very quickly. And then once they got up into the Boyle Heights area, CHP decided that they would take this one over. And especially after their vehicle got ran into, they are all too happy to follow this one to the very end, however it ends. But still continuing on with only 2 good tires, up to 70 miles an hour just a couple of moments ago. Awfully nerve-wracking. Hope he doesn't try that again.
Yeah, it does. You can see him once again making a turn here on those only 2 good tires right now through Compton. We've seen this driver just continuously go through residential areas back to Long Beach Boulevard, staying in the Compton area. It looks like coming very slow, going very slow there, but
Going to see a foot bail soon? What do you think?
Not stopping just yet.
He's slowing down quite a bit.
Slowing down, you wonder if that's the car or the driver at this point. But take a look, you can see, was that a little bit of smoke coming out the passenger side? It seemed like it there, but this car just, it seems like it's going to give up anytime soon. But again, you never know how these things are going to go. Of course, CHP, one of the most trained, I would say, agencies on pursuits, which is they can handle this. They know what they're doing. But again, it looks like this driver coming up to just a little bit of traffic here as they're making their way through some of these residential areas through Compton right now on McMillan Street and Bradfield Avenue. You can see there are a few, there are a few speed bumps in this area as well.
Very narrow road here. I don't know, this driver, I don't know if you can see it ahead, Des, and see what's up ahead, but this is the most residential and most narrow street that we've seen. You talked about, being able to avoid a cul-de-sac. It looks like that's not necessarily the situation here as we come into another intersection. But this is a front-wheel drive vehicle. I think those tend to go a little longer than the rear-wheel drive because it tends to, to pull this car, which is the reason why it's probably able to go, Leslie, at this point in time, even with the damage. You go over a spike strip, you might get all 4 tires. You could just get 2. You could get 1. It looks like he's got at least a couple of flats.
Yeah, that's what law enforcement hopes, right, to get all 4. But right now we're seeing majority of the damage to the passenger side. We've also seen the driver's side mirror pretty much hanging on, as well as some of the bumper. That's because, as we've mentioned and we've showed you, this driver did crash into 2 gates, just basically smash right through both of them, and then backed up into a CHP officer. Again, this beginning as a stop for a stolen vehicle, but now has continued on, and of course racking up some charges here, as you said, possibly assault
on a police officer.
When they backed into that CHP officer. But it looks like they continue on now, just trying to weave their way through these very narrow residential streets in the city of Compton.
Let's go back up to SkyCal and Des. So Des, this looks like it's a little bit different here. He's looking for something to do, whether he wants to bail out of the vehicle or maybe he's got, maybe he's on the phone talking to somebody. We've seen that before where they've gone into a neighborhood and got to a place where, there's relatives or family or friends or whatever the case may be. We've kind of seen it all. I know you certainly have, Des. What do you attribute this to?
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember one pursuit in particular where it seemed like the suspect wanted to surrender on their own terms, maybe, in front of their family or whatever. It kind of turned into a fairly volatile situation when the family tried to get involved with that one. And I definitely wonder if that's what is happening here. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've been in Compton almost the entire time of this pursuit, except for the wild foray up into downtown LA and Boyle Heights, where we saw most of the craziness, including with the backing up into the CHP cruiser and just running down those 2 gates. So, but ever since we came down here, we've been pretty much in the same neighborhoods, and they actually just looped around that same street a couple of times before now we're back out here onto Bullis Road. So, and really slowing down there, like it sure looked like they were getting ready, as Leslie mentioned, like they were getting ready to open the door and go flying out, but decided not to. And they're not. This is not one of those situations where they're going to have that 30-second leeway where sometimes we see these suspects get away. They're driving really fast, left, right, and then they ditch the vehicle and they've got maybe 30 seconds of a lead time with no unit behind them. CHP is right behind them, and they're down 2 tires. So they're not going to be able to get, very much distance if this suspect does want to get out and run. It's going to be incredibly difficult, even if they're in really good shape, to be able to get any kind of distance on any of the officers, because there are a lot of officers back here as well. I think I even saw a motorcycle officer or 2 that was posted around in the area if need be. So here you can see all the CHP units involved. You've got 5 that I can count here on the screen, and probably a few more back there. LA County Sheriff's deputies are also hiding in different spots, the ones who initiated all this. And, last hour, Juan was saying he noticed that no one was out here watching this. Well, now we are starting to see some people come out on the streets and come out and wave and signal to this suspect. And looked like, maybe we've even seen him waving back a couple of times.
Yeah, really interesting as we continue to follow this breaking news here from SkyCal. That's live in SkyCal tonight, centered on this vehicle. This is a police pursuit. CHP is behind, as well as sheriff's deputies as well behind this stolen vehicle, stolen car pursuit. We understand just the driver, we believe, is in this vehicle, but we haven't confirmed if there are any more people in or not. We have at times gotten close enough with our camera to see that the driver was on the phone on a couple of occasions, driving pretty slowly now, down to 26 miles per hour. But one point in time was up to about 70, 75 on the surface streets of the Compton area. It definitely has 2 flat tires. Several spike strip attempts have occurred during this police pursuit that's gone on for more than an hour. Went through 2 different gates. There were chain link gates that were pretty easy for him to drive through. But this has basically been centered in Compton on surface streets. Rosecrans, the popular route, Long Beach Boulevard, right-hand part of your screen is going to be one of those spike strips that was deployed and was actually, looks like they were able to get that to at least deflate one tire.
Yeah, and you know, if we take the live cam, you can probably get a better look at just what those two tires look like. That look like they're pretty much down to the rim there. Well, now they're turning, so we're not going to get as good of a look there. But they're both on the right side, on the passenger side, and when you look at them, you can really get an idea of just how messed up those tires are, and because it's really down to the rim. So this car pretty much
oh, look at its headlights. It's
half
going
working at this point, but yeah, blinking those hazards have been on for a while now. At one point, we did see this driver, even with two flat tires, go about 70 miles per hour. Now, Jeff, we're seeing the driver just hover right around 25, 30 miles per hour through the Compton area. Again, you wonder, what's the point here, right? Because you keep going, well, points to evade officers, of course, but
down to the last minute, right?
You're down to the last minute. You're down to just two tires, and you're staying in the same area over and over, making circles.
Yeah, and this car has damage on every single quarter panel, from left to right to front to back. It backed into a CHP, so there's damage to the back. The front is basically the bumper is gone. It went through two gates, and as a result of that, it's all been damaged. You can see the hood is smacked up a little bit. The headlights are going in 90-degree angles on either side. The side mirror is completely just flapping in the breeze, if you will. So it's got damage all over the place. And this is a point in time where, Des, you just really got to shake your head and wonder, what is the point of this?
Yeah, looks like
and why doesn't CHP just go ahead and do a pit maneuver and get this thing over with? Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, whenever there's damage to a vehicle like this, especially with the tires, it pretty much negates a pit maneuver, because you're just not sure how the vehicle is going to behave when it only has half the rubber, that it should. If it were to spin out and hit someone's parked car, that's going to be a lot of paperwork for that officer to, maybe end this pursuit a half hour earlier. Obviously, they would love to get it over with, but that could be problematic, or, heaven forbid, if it spun out of control, and if someone was out there walking around, or, and someone driving the opposite direction. So pretty sure that that's protocol, that once tires are damaged like this, and certainly once the rubber is completely separated, that they're just going to wait this one out. They were talking about potentially another spike strip, though. We'll see if they get an opportunity for that. Then maybe they could just get the rubber off of all four of those tires, and maybe that would be what it would take to finally get this suspect to give this one up. But they are just wanting to drag this one out as long as possible. We've seen it so many times. I mean, we saw some of the folks that have joined us on pursuits in years past will remember one that went on for 6 hours, going about 5 miles an hour the whole time from downtown Los Angeles to Ontario. And, it's just seems to be the modus operandi of a lot of these suspects when they know that they are going to be in handcuffs soon, that they just want to be out here and take it as long as they are physically able to take it. Maybe enjoy the car stereo a little bit longer, or smoke a couple of cigarettes. It certainly looked like I saw maybe the suspect drop something or flick something out the window. Might have looked like a cigarette butt or something like that.
Well, I've been seeing pieces of the vehicle kind of fly off of it as well. So not only the rubber from the tires, but we've seen plastic from the bumpers and stuff underneath. I know, Leslie, when you were talking earlier, made that left-hand turn, it looked like something kind of fell off. And it's going at pretty slow speed, but this thing is just rapidly falling apart. And what's so interesting is what Des was saying, Leslie, is, the officers now have managed it. They've got to the point where this driver is down to 25, 30 miles per hour.
Yeah.
They've controlled it. The possibility of him hitting somebody and doing damage has lessened quite a bit because of this disabled vehicle. I guess the only thing that we'd be concerned about is if he decides to foot bail and gets into a home or something like that.
Yeah.
But they are at least controlling it.
Yeah, and at this point, it's, as Des was saying, it's kind of a waiting game because they've done what they can. They, as Desmond just said, they would not do a pit maneuver right now because it just would not be a safe situation. But you take a look there, Des, we've been seeing this driver continue to make either hand signals out of the vehicle. I don't know if they're throwing anything there out of that vehicle, but a couple times you do see that driver stick their hand out and make some sort of signals as they're weaving their way through yet another neighborhood in Compton.
And, you know, it looked almost like, I hate to say it, almost looked like the suspect was enjoying themselves. Like maybe they were listening to some music, singing along to the music. They were waving something out. It was a can of some sort. It almost looked like maybe a spray paint can, or if it was, you know, a beverage can or what. I might have even seen a little puff of smoke or something. I'm pretty sure I saw him flick a cigarette out of the window earlier. So, again, it just seems like, as aggravating as it is, the suspect trying to get a few more moments of enjoyment out of what is essentially turned into a joyride, almost kind of like a pursuit parade around Compton that's been going on for way, way too long on a couple of bad tires, more and more motioning out the window here, and, you know, just, yeah, dragging this one out, trying to be as annoying as possible and trying to tie up as many resources as they possibly can until the vehicle is physically unable to continue.
Yeah, and that's just something I can't relate to. You know, you think about that, and your first thought is, why don't you just pull over, you know, get this over with, and let's make sure that everybody's safe. But there are people out there that get enjoyment out of this. This person appears to just want to taunt the police and continue to drive into this situation and continue to, you know, even go at slow speeds. This to right-hand part of your screen is him driving through two separate gates, doing damage to his car. At the second one, he backed into a CHP vehicle. That's going to happen here in just a second. But you saw that earlier. This is going on 90 minutes now that we've been airing this pursuit, so it's been going on for quite a bit. And most of that, Leslie, has been at slow speeds.
Yeah, right now going about 16, 15 miles per hour. You can see the front end of that vehicle pretty damaged. It gives you a really good look at that front passenger tire as well as that back one. Look at that front one. That front one is
just
down to the rim.
I don't see any rubber on it.
Yeah, you cannot see absolutely any rubber on it. The back one maybe has a little bit of tread there, but not much on that front. At this point, you could see them. It seems like they're losing control there, Des.
It's almost like a slot car now, because I think the tires are off both of those on the right side, Des.
Wow.
Yeah, they are. I got a really good view of it here right now. You can see just a couple little bits of rubber hanging out on this one, and yeah, you can see he's got a can there in his hand.
He's taking a drink right now.
With the taking a drink.
Of
whatever this is, and you know, well, yeah, quite possibly. We have seen that before. There was one I can remember in downtown where a suspect sat and was even actually pouring beers out in front of officers at the end of one pursuit. So certainly would not be the first time. We're getting a really good view right now. But look at him just kind of gyrating in his seat. I mean, it really seems like this person is really enjoying themselves in a very wicked way right now, I guess you could say. But as long as the vehicle is capable of you know, evading officers, then it certainly seems like this suspect is just going to continue these shenanigans.
Yeah, you could just really see the damage to the top of that vehicle, all obviously done because he went through that gate. This is a Valentine's night here, and this is entertainment for a lot of people who sit and watch this, maybe even more so for the driver who decides that this is going to be the way he spends Valentine's, is behind the wheel in a police pursuit, going at slow speed and just, you know, being maniacal and just wanting to taunt police officers on this.
And, you know, you just hope that this ends safely, peacefully, and you know, officers want to just make sure he pulls off to the side and they can then detain him. But at this point, Jeff, as you said, this person seems to be enjoying this moment, which it's really hard to just wrap your head around. You want them to pull over, stop tying up resources. But it did look like he had some sort of can in his hand. He's driving with one hand right now, and you wonder, how do you have this much control of a vehicle that only has 2 working tires?
Only because he's doing 15 miles an hour. And it certainly looked like, Leslie, he was reaching into the back of the seat. So we did see one can in the hand, and we also saw the window go down at one point in time. It looked like there was something that he was spilling out of one of those. So maybe he's got, 6-pack or 12-pack back there. God forbid, I hope that's not the case, and he's not intent on finishing the whole thing. But Des, we've seen stuff like this before, and some people are just content to go all the way down to, 4 tireless rims and just get to the point where they come to a complete stop on their own, as opposed to police stopping this for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we really have seen it all with the imbibing with illegal substances as well at the end of other pursuits. And, my zoom lens is not that good to see what exactly the suspect is smoking, but I'm pretty sure that they have been smoking something inside of that vehicle. And we just saw someone come and get right up next to them as well, come right up, almost able to high-five the driver there standing in that center turn lane. So, this has now gone on long enough to where it is really turning into one of these spectacles. And in fact, my pilot Dylan was listening to some of the talk up here between the helicopters, and this person may be live streaming this on social media, which would also not be a first. But this is kind of the age that we live in right now, where now we not only have people walking outside to come and get some social media footage to put on their Twitter or Instagram of, oh, hey, look, the pursuit's right in front of me, but you might even have the suspect themselves possibly live streaming this right now. And, we saw them on the phone earlier, saw them either talking or singing to themselves, and it's just, what do you even say about that?
Well, yeah, we've seen it all. And as you mentioned, Des, this is just another example of that. And Leslie, I know you've seen quite a bit of stuff yourself and what these suspects do. And we have heard about live streaming, whether, what that's on a particular social media platform. We don't know. And I don't think that we would, obviously broadcast or tell people what that is anyway. But if he's doing that, that obviously wouldn't be a first. But that just goes to show you what this person wants to do. They want to be in this situation where they are, kind of the center of attention. This is them against police, or taking police, excuse me, out of their role as to what they're doing on their job, and focusing on him and getting this to the point where he's the center of attention.
Yeah, and we've done stories where we've spoken to the suspects of some of these pursuits after the fact, years later, and asking them, why keep this going when you know that you will be arrested at the end, when you know your car is not capable of outrunning the officers? And many times they say, after a while, it became a show, which is upsetting to hear, because this is, of course, a dangerous situation. It ties up resources. It's Valentine's night. There's people out there, but now people joining in. You could see a gentleman there on the street. I've seen several people with their phones out as the car goes by.
People are coming out for sure.
Just
look at
watching
that.
this. And
yeah,
as Des said, one person almost high-fived that driver.
Yeah. And, this is another thing, too. An obvious motivation for these people to do this is, even if it's a few moments or 10 minutes or whatever the case may be, that's that much longer that they're not going to jail. Because he is obviously going to spend the night in jail. We're talking about hitting a police officer with a deadly weapon, with a vehicle. This is a stolen vehicle. I mean, he's going to go to jail, and he's not going to get out for a while. And we've seen that as a motivation, too. It's like, I just don't want to go to jail. So they'll prolong this and keep it going just absolutely as long as they can. So, Des, I know that you were on this from the very beginning. It's got to be 90 minutes or so that we've been covering this, right?
Yeah, pretty close to that. I think we got on this one just a little bit over 9 o'clock. So, yeah, we've been on this for well over an hour, and it had been going on for some minutes beforehand, where this started in the Compton area. And, this one started like, with LA County Sheriff's deputies. And we were just doing a story about this yesterday, how this one almost could have just gotten away from law enforcement. They got everything lined up with their helicopter overhead, and then they briefly went into pursuit mode, and then only about a minute later, the watch commanders had canceled the pursuit. We're going into tracking mode with the helicopter but then it came up into Boyle Heights, and then apparently LA County Sheriff's deputies were able to get CHP involved in this one. And even then, we've seen, here's another person getting, oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Can't show that on television. And the longer this goes on, the more wild stuff like that we're going to see. But this could have even still possibly, law enforcement might have let this one go because, I don't want to say it's just a stolen vehicle, but we are kind of getting to that point now where if things are really dangerous, law enforcement just might say, as we saw on our piece yesterday, we'll get them another time. But then when this suspect decided to slam through some gates and then back right up into CHP when, they even kind of gave them a little leeway to get out of the way and not make contact. But that was when this was basically, guaranteed to continue to go on with the spike strips and all of this. Now that it's,
this is kind of
assault
getting
with a deadly
into
weapon on a police officer.
a fairly marginal road here, Des. What's the address here?
So Mona Boulevard and Largo Avenue in Compton, widen out and show you. And someone was saying something. There might be a crowd of people up ahead. We'll just have to see what all goes on. There are way too many people coming out to get a look at this now that this is in their neighborhood and it's been going on so long. You can hear the helicopter overhead, the spotlight extremely visible, the flashing red and yellow lights. I have to assume the sirens on from CHP. People hear sirens not once, not twice, maybe 4 times in their neighborhood, and they come out and want to see what's going on. And it's gotten to be too much of a circus. But CHP, boy, they have just been as patient as they come on this one, just hanging out right at the back, waiting to see how the suspect wants this one to come to an end.
Yeah, again, this driver wanted for a stolen vehicle, but Jeff, you were about to say something.
Well, it's just, it seems in the past, CHP was able to get a vehicle in front and slow down and kind of make this driver come to a stop. Des, am I wrong in thinking that in the past we've seen CHP get in front of the vehicle if they have the opportunity, slow it down, and then just kind of crunch them in between vehicles? Is that not part of the protocol anymore?
Yeah, we did see that. It's pretty rare. We did see it on one pursuit. That one was. I remember that one was on the Palos Verdes Peninsula, and I can't remember what that person was wanted for. I don't think it was for a stolen vehicle. I think it was for a traffic infraction, and they gave that person so much deference. And then they were even talking to him at a light. They were communicating with him.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they must have determined that they didn't think that person was a threat. Maybe they were having a mental health breakdown or something like that. And so then we saw, the units come and kind of box them in. But they've already sustained a little bit of damage to this cruiser, and they may be loath to do that again. After what this suspect did earlier, ramming into the back of them, they're probably thinking that that's might not necessarily, safely bring this to an end. So it's really just been a hang back and wait kind of situation. But, on these slow speeds, how many miles have we been going now with, two tires and 2 rims? The vehicle, we're not seeing, the sparks. The rims are still intact. The vehicle is still, at some point, those rims are going to grind all the way down to the brake calipers. And even then, we could still possibly have a little bit of time. Hard to believe. So, and I haven't seen any other spike strip attempts. It might just be that too many people are coming out and kind of getting involved. That I don't know if they don't want to have their officers out there or what. But the spike, we haven't heard any more talk about spike strips. We had heard they were maybe trying to get one other one in place. The driver's certainly going slow enough for them to be able to coordinate that. But at this point, it's just like I said, hang back and wait.
Now coming up to a busy intersection there on Alameda and El Segundo Boulevard through Compton. You can see making their way over those train tracks. But Des, we've seen it time and time again, going at slow speeds. These cars can keep pushing even with just 2 good tires. Driver going about 25 miles per hour. Really, we've seen them go about 15 miles per hour for a majority of the time.
Pretty slow. Yeah.
At some points, we saw this driver Looked like he was waving or throwing something out of the vehicle, looked like possibly just enjoying the situation. I know it's getting a little hard to see what's going on here as there are some of those pretty large trees in this area, but you can see the spotlight from the helicopter overhead and the vehicle. We're waiting to see where it comes out. See it going very slow through Compton right now. At this point, it seems like it's going to be a waiting game. As Desmond told us, they most likely, and they won't do a pit maneuver because the vehicle does not have all 4 good tires. It would do more damage to the surrounding areas. And at this point, it looks like maybe another spike strip. This would be their 5th spike strip. Might be a good idea.
It'd be the 5th deployed spike strip.
Yeah, fifth deployed.
2 worked, it seems, and they got the right-hand side of that car, both tires on the right side, as you mentioned, Leslie, are out. That would mean that it's obviously pulling to the right on this one. I wonder if, do you get a feeling that there might be information that police have that this driver might have a weapon? Is the reason why that they're going so slow and waiting this out? I mean, it's been going on for quite some time, and we have seen him. Go ahead, Des. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, it's definitely worth wondering. We haven't heard any conversations about anything like that. It's certainly always on their mind. It might even be the default position for a lot of these officers because, they really have no idea who they're dealing with because this is a stolen vehicle. They don't necessarily have any information on this suspect other than whatever, visual ID they've been able to get of this person. So, yeah, it's definitely worth wondering, and that may also be another factor as to why they haven't been wanting to, get in front of the vehicle. And, all of the taunting, all of the agitation, and potentially other illegal things going on inside of the vehicle, it's certainly worth wondering if the suspect has a weapon in the car. And I would say that, in general, that seems to almost kind of be the default position of a lot of these agencies when they get in a pursuit, especially if it's not for something like a traffic violation or something like that. If it's for something like a stolen vehicle or safer, I think they kind of operate from that idea.
Yeah, you can see that large crowd. That's a pretty large crowd there, probably the largest we've seen of people with their cell phones out, just pretty much, it looks like, entertaining this pursuit here. Desmond, this car just keeps going there, and at some points we definitely did see some of that smoke, I should say. You saw the sparks. We haven't seen that in quite some time, which I'm a little surprised.
Slow.
Yeah, I'm a little
He's going
surprised.
pretty slow.
Yeah,
you would think it would overheat the engine at this point in time. There's a lot of strain on the engine because he's driving on the rims like this. So we see that quite a bit. But you know what? He's just really nursing this thing along. He's going, 10, 15 miles an hour. He got up there at about 30. Maybe he was buoyed a little bit by the crowd that had come out to support him, and he got a little faster. But for the most part, he's just kind of cradling this thing, just taking care of it and maintaining about 20 miles an hour. And so, Des, I think that this guy, it doesn't appear that he's going to stop. I think he's content with driving this until it stops on its own power, runs out of gas, or something gets in the way or something like that. It just doesn't seem like this guy is going to stop until the car does.
Absolutely, and sticking to a lot of wide roads that he knows are thoroughfares. If getting onto, some small residential streets, must be streets that they know are not going to, end in a dead end or something like that. This person does not hit a single cul-de-sac. The only dead end they hit was, wow, that was pretty close.
I thought maybe the guy was trying to stop him or something.
The only dead end. Yeah, and, we've seen that too. There's some other pursuits I can think of where they went on for so long and at slow speeds. We are already seeing people come up and approach this vehicle. There was a very famous pursuit on Ventura Boulevard where almost like vigilantes came up and began to box the suspect in with their vehicles, people coming up and banging on windows and stuff like that. Definitely what law enforcement doesn't want, but the longer that this continues, the more subject we are to see that kind of craziness. And it's only going to get worse as this continues. Now, really trying to push this car, almost like I don't know if the suspect is live streaming us or what, but we say something how they're taking it gingerly, and then they get it up to 40, 50 miles an hour, and then kind of slow back down. So a little bit of agitation right there with this suspect, but already way too many bystanders getting way too close to this.
Right-hand turn here. We saw quite a bit of smoke coming from the vehicle, and that again tells me that when he starts to see the smoke come out there, he's starting to pressure it a little bit. This engine is really working.
There's
There's quite a load here because this is down to no rubber, just the rims on the right-hand side of this vehicle. So that engine is going to be really overworking. So I expect this engine to start to smoke, which it is, might overheat, obviously, and then it's going to start to break down. And that's probably how this is going to end, Leslie.
Yeah, the car's just going to have to stop at this point. It doesn't look like the driver is going to make that move first, but take a look. You can see those sparks once again coming from that passenger tires, both of those, the front and the back one, pretty much out down to the metal, down to the rim there. The car keeps chugging along, but as he tries to increase that speed up to 40 miles per hour, we see that smoke, we see the sparks. And as you said, Jeff, the car, we believe, will eventually give out.
It will. And I think he's going to go all the way to the end with the car.
I guess the big question, though, is just how long will that take?
Yeah. Well, he's been satisfied with going 15 miles an hour. So if he was able to do that and have it all, overheat and smoke, you can go for, quite a bit longer on that. And it certainly seems that that's what he wants to do. But eventually this is going to overheat. You see the indicators of that already, that the engine is straining under the, just basically you've got two rims that are on the asphalt. There's just a lot of overload and it's taxing this engine, and eventually it's going to overheat. Des, what are you looking at now?
Well, let's see what happens here in the next few moments. We were talking about it earlier. CHP may be trying something else to bring this to an end, because I can hear the frustration in their voice. They are really just getting tired of this. They're really sick of this guy. They are sick of everyone getting involved. And here we go. Here comes getting involved. Going to try to spin him around. We didn't think they would pit him there with two bad tires, but they did. Oh, all kinds of sparks. Look at that, though. Still refusing to give up. He's collided again. Definitely traded some paint. Oh, boy. So now he's hit two CHP cruisers altogether. Tons of sparks now at this point. And, wow, this rim might fall off at this point, and this suspect is really, really agitated now at this point, up to getting 30, 40 miles an hour. Sparks all over the place here on Compton Boulevard.
Boy, it's just amazing, the luck of these drivers. When you have a number of police officers with those cruisers there, ready to box them in. If we can go back and take a look at that video, I counted 3 cruisers. There you go on the right-hand part of your screen. This big SUV is going to come up the Tahoe. Pretty good pit maneuver right there.
Great.
2 other officers, 3, and then he's able to go up onto the sidewalk, kind of almost gets high-centered in the dirt, goes right in between a telephone pole and a fire hydrant, then goes right back out on the street.
And you just wonder, how does this car continue to sustain? How does it not just give up with only 2 good tires? But
just so lucky.
It really does come down to luck, because
it is,
the fact that this car is now going 35, 40 miles per hour down the streets of Compton. You could tell this driver now agitated, picking up speeds. We saw this entire pursuit for at least the last hour going 15 miles per hour, but you can see there's still some traffic out there coming to a very busy intersection here at Compton and Alameda in the city of Compton, and it looks like that Tahoe once again.
Take it, Des.
Yep. Yeah, no, this officer pit certified. Another great pit maneuver, spins him right around twice there. And let's see if that's going to stop this vehicle. No, still continuing. And you know what? I mean, listening to it sounds like the sergeant right now, because this unit back here wanted to do another pit, but he just said, no, you can't. This one right here, this SUV, they are pit certified. They're the ones who just conducted these last 2 pits, and I think they're going to do it again if they get the chance. They're talking about coordinating. Here we come for a 3rd pit maneuver. Let's see if they're able to get in and stop this again. A 3rd one, spinning them around again. This is, I can't remember last time I saw 3, and the vehicle still continues. What is it going to take to get this person to stop? Just absolute madness on Alameda. Here we are. They're going to set up for a 4th pit maneuver.
I think they're coming in from the other side.
Maybe 4 times a charm. At some point, this vehicle has got to stop. And again, wow. Oh, the rear bumper getting completely ripped off. Can this vehicle continue? The Kia will not give out on this one. I just cannot believe I don't know that I've ever seen 4 pit maneuvers in the course of one pursuit, especially on a vehicle that only has 2 tires, and the vehicle continues to go.
And
wow,
we've
Jeff and
seen
Leslie,
that. Yeah, that car has spun
madness.
at least 6 times, Desmond. It looks like, are they going to try it
They're
again?
gonna try it again. Usually it stalls out in a situation like that. That's why they do the pit maneuver. But this Kia, for some reason, has been spun around multiple times and continues to go. But Des, he's definitely going slower than he was before.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and they're even giving him a little bit of deference right here. They're thinking, hold on before you try again. Maybe they're going to give up, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, you'd think that this driver would be dizzy. They've been spun around so often, and that's, a big component is a lot of times when they get spun around like this, they're going to come again. From a wide angle and spinning them around again, ripping off that rear bumper completely. Let's see if they're going to try to. They've got him. Here we go. Now they've got him in, and they're just coming right out with their guns drawn, not wasting any time. They are run out of patience with this guy. They're going to yank him out of the vehicle and get him in handcuffs, and the madness is finally going to be over. Left the car and drive, though. Oh, no. I think he left the car and drive. That officer almost got their knee pinned between the 2 vehicles, but that was a close call. A lot of resistance here, but finally it is game over for this maniac.
Boy, that was pretty harrowing moments there. Not only were the pit maneuvers over and over and over again, but as you mentioned, Des, that car was in drive and it pinned that officer momentarily between his cruiser and that vehicle, but it appears that he's okay. He raised one of his, I think his left leg up, and was able to get bumper to bumper and walked out of there. He's the one with the jacket, and I think he's okay. But to the right-hand part of your screen there is going to be the suspect. There, you can see that they're trying to clear his waistband to make sure he doesn't have any weapons. But boy, what a way to end this pursuit that was so boring and for so long. To end it in such a way like this, very exciting. But thankfully, it doesn't appear that anybody's hurt.
Yeah, it just shows again, CHP knows what they're doing. We do want to show some of the highlights. This is when the pit maneuvers started. You can see one pit maneuver, that car starts sparking. The tires, the wheels, pretty much the rim starts sparking. They go onto this sidewalk, Jeff, in between those light poles, back down onto the street. And we see this driver continue to keep on through Compton.
And remember, there is no rubber on the tires on the right-hand part of this vehicle, just the rims. He's able to go through, let's take a look here and count how many pit maneuvers we had. This is the first one, went around, completely around, then drove right out of that, didn't stall at all, kept driving as they continued with the pursuit. Here's going to be the second pit maneuver. This was not successful. Again, spun that car completely around, continued to drive out of it, didn't stall. Here we come to the third pit maneuver on the other side of the vehicle by CHP. Again, getting kind of caught up on the rear bumper of the cruiser, but was able to, at that point in time, drive off slowly. At one point in time, doing 15 miles an hour. It's half of that. Then here's the other one that finally gets to the point where it ends.
Yeah, that was what, 5 pit maneuvers?
I believe so.
That suspect now in custody right there by CHP in the city of Compton. This pursuit now coming to an end after almost 2 hours. Of course, we will keep you updated on this situation as we get more information from police down there in Compton.
Okay, we'll call that code 4.